Welcome back to the Anything Goes with Jackson Neill podcast here on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, and YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, hang on just 1 second. In about 30 seconds, you'll be seeing this is a video special interview. So if you're not on YouTube, I would recommend to go over there and check it out because there's going to be a video component to this one between me and AJ Banksy, the rapper who is joining me on today's episode to discuss his latest EP, It Gets Deeper. He's a lyricist from the South that I'm really looking at as someone who I'm really looking forward to hearing new music from. He's originally from Florida, now based out of Atlanta, Georgia. But man, he makes some really, really thought-provoking music and some really awesome songs that I've really been loving to listen to ever since I heard about him. So, time for my interview with him. If you're not on YouTube, I recommend going over to the platform and checking it out because I did a Skype interview with him so you'd get the video aspect as well. Here's my interview. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm good. This is my first time doing an interview over a Skype call, so let's see how it goes.
Yeah, same. Unless it's for like jobs and stuff, so.
Yeah, same. So, all right. So, how did your latest EP, It Gets Deeper, come about?
Wait, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Yeah, you have good light and everything.
Okay, for sure. On my end, it looks a little sketch. All right. The EP. So did you hear? I guess the EP I dropped before this one, The Surface.
I listened to a little bit of that one, yeah, but I mainly listened to It Gets Deeper.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So It Gets Deeper was basically meant to be a continuation of The Surface. So The Surface came about basically I had took a hiatus from music. I was going through a lot of stuff with school, jobs, just mentally. I just wasn't like really focused on music at the time. So The Surface was kind of like my re-emergence, I guess, if you will, as like an artist and, basically letting people know like, hey, I'm still here, still doing the music thing. And so then It Gets Deeper was meant to sort of tell more of that story, kind of like going like off of the name, like It Gets Deeper. Like I wanted to just tell more of like, what was going on with me during that time where I wasn't making music, kind of just like updates on my life, like graduating school and stuff like that. So like if you listen to the EP, you get a lot of that sort of insight that you wouldn't have gotten with The Surface, mainly because it was so short. This was kind of like more of a full EP, more of a full project body of work. So yeah, that was my goal with it.
Yeah, I get that where it's like you're scratching the surface on the first one and then it gets deeper. So now it's all like making sense to me.
Nah, facts.
All right, so and along with the title, It Gets Deeper. This EP is very personal. What made you want to be so open on this project?
Yo, honestly, like I feel like I'm very open, very transparent with like all of my music, and that's kind of like a lot of the feedback that I've gotten, just like kind of historically from making music. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, people who are really listening to it, they'll be like, yeah, he's very open, he's very transparent. He just, that's kind of like how he operates." And I just feel like, I don't know, music for me has been, I don't want to say like an escape because it sounds a little cliche, but just like being able to sort of say all the things that you wouldn't say normally, like in regular conversation, or just being able to open up like on the microphone and it kind of just being like your time to really like get everything off of your music. Like there's really nothing that I would ever want to like hold back. Like, you know what I mean? Like making records or just, that's kind of like how I see it. It's just very a very open, very trusting sort of like process with my audience, which is weird because I do talk a lot about a lot of things that I would never say to anyone like face to face. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
It's kind of like a place for you where you can just kind of like open up in a way like maybe in a normal life you don't get the chance to, I guess.
Nah, 100%. But it's like even with like some of my really close like friends and homies and stuff like that, we've never had some of the conversations that I've shared like on record. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of like thing that goes on with the music for sure.
That makes me wonder. So when you record your songs, are you by yourself? Because if that might be a big thing, is like you're talking by yourself into a microphone.
Nah, ironically, so I used to record myself like a lot. I used to have my own little setup on like my old laptop. I had a condenser microphone. So yeah, I used to record myself and then send my vocals off to like my homie who does all my mixing and stuff like that. But lately, I always record with a homie. Don't get me wrong. Like it's never any like a stranger or anything like that. I try to keep it, close to the family as possible. But yeah, no, I'm either recording with my homie Apollo, or a lot of times my homie Sakima. But yeah, to answer your question, there's generally someone there, but it's also someone that's like really close to me. So I don't know if that helps like with the comfort level, but yeah, honestly, I don't think it would matter.
Okay, yeah, it's
I
just like
think
the kind of environment and setting of like recording music just gets you to open up.
I think I just owe people that. You know what I mean? I just owe like people to give like the truest representation of myself, like in the truest like musical content, that just comes from my life. I think that's kind of what I want to do or be known for, like with the music, is just always being, that open book.
hmm Yeah, because like when I was listening to this EP, I got to the first track, and right off the bat on the first track, you're already talking about thoughts of suicide and stuff. It's very very deep, and it was just like right away I got hit by this openness, and I thought it was really cool and grabbed my attention.
Mhm.
And why did you want to start the project like that?
That's funny because like my brother, he had the same reaction. Because I like send people like a couple like tracks and stuff like as I'm working on it, but I don't think I like sent him any stuff like initially. So like when he listened to the whole thing before it came out, he was like, "Dang, bro, I'm listening to Days, bro, and like that like it's deep, bro." And like, but nah, to answer your question, I think like with the title, like it gets deeper. I wanted like I wanted you to be kind of like overwhelmed with that emotion and that, everything that I was trying to portray with like the project itself. I really just wanted to like start like, kind of how you're saying like, ah, man, just like smack me like with all this, it was super real, super deep, super engaging. And it is an attention grabber. Because a lot, like, I don't know, like, well, you don't know because this is kind of our first time,
Yeah.
interacting, but like just personality wise, I'm typically like a very, kind of, I don't want to say like happy go lucky, but that like my persona, like if you were to meet me, very kind of like outgoing, face value, um, like I'm always smiling, I'm always laughing, like things like that. So I don't think for a lot of people, because a lot of like my close friends, they hit me and they were like, "Are you okay? Like, are you good?" Like, because this is like again, like this is a lot of stuff that I kind of like kept bottled up until like this moment of the tape, and everybody was kind of like, "Oh my God!" Like we had no idea, but I wanted it to be like that.
hmm
Um, I did that on purpose. I definitely wanted to be kind of like an eye opener, even for people who, feel like they have a good relationship with me, to just know, that there's these other things going on, or,
hmm
so,
Yeah.
so
When I was first listening to the EP, I was in a public place, and I had my earphones on. I was writing some emails, and because like you just kind of passively listen for the first time, and I started to hear that, and I stopped what I was doing and was like I was just like, wait, what? And then I just had to like rewind it a little bit, listen to it again, and it did just that, because I feel like a lot of times when people listen to music, it's kind of passive, whether they're like working out, whether they're studying, walking around, doing anything. They're usually doing something else and listening to music. And
yeah,
I think when you can have that opening right from the beginning, that all of a sudden brings the audience's attention in, and so it's not as passive an experience, more active listening to your lyrics.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, this is definitely one of those tapes where it's like you gotta like focus in, like close yourself up like in a room by yourself, like you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
don't have anything else going, and really just like listen honestly. Like it's meant to, and the order is also important. Like I try to make it almost like not chronological, but each separate track I want it to be a story, but then like the stories kind of fit together, like in
Mhm.
Day talking about having that impulse to want to crash my car, like what I mean, as I'm driving. And then in the very next track in Second Son, it's like I'm speeding, 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 like on the free. So like everything kind of like connects. There's like that, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you really focus in, you see the threads that sort of connect like every story to the rest of the stories, and it's like a pattern. And yeah, I really want people to like sort of dig into it, like I don't want it to be one of those things again where it's like, just walking down the street or, hanging out with friends, bumping the tape. Like that's cool. But ultimately, I want people to listen to it. But I feel like the more you dig into it, like the more you're gonna get out of it for sure.
Yeah, and definitely. And it was crazy. You just felt like a thread running through it. That was literally how I was gonna describe. I have it written down right here. How I was
Uh,
gonna describe like a thread kind of running through everything. And I love tapes that like you put everything about music you need to be thinking about. I think whether it's the lyrics, beat selection, and even the like the order of a tape. And I think I love it when artists take that time to really go through everything and think it all out.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, also on this, you talk a lot about your time at Georgia Tech. Can you tell me a little bit about your time there?
Oh my God. It was bittersweet, man. I think that's like the perfect way to summarize it. Mainly, I met like a lot of cool people being at Tech, whether it was music people, whether it's, people I consider really close homies now. So I think that part of it was like the sort of sweet part of it. I got a lot of introduction to like through the people I met doing music and stuff like that. I got to like play some cool shows. We actually opened up for I think it was Hoodie Allen at the Georgia Tech homecoming concert. I want to say like 2014 or 2014, 2015, something like that. I played at Masquerade. I've been like around the city, man. So I think if I hadn't come to Atlanta for school, it didn't even necessarily have to be Georgia Tech, but just being in Atlanta, and being in that sort of music culture and music environment, going to A3C a couple years and stuff like that. Just being a part of that culture and that environment definitely impacted me as a person, and then in the music as well, and just giving me new experiences and new things to sort of recollect and be able to talk about. But then the flip side of that is Tech is I want to say like top 5 engineering schools like in the world. And so what comes with that is the rigor and the level of difficulty of a top engineering school. I think my program specifically is like number 2 in the country. So while I was like running around trying to do the music thing and try to sort of like balance that, like I was also missing out on a lot of stuff like in the classroom, and it had an impact on me mainly when I kind of saw like the sort of situation I was in. 'Cause I couldn't afford school. I came to school on a scholarship, and that was the only way I was able to even like be in the city or like be at school. You know what I mean? So when I started struggling in school, I started losing money. Like, I don't know if you heard in the tape, but I talk about losing like $80,000 scholarship. And that was my first year at Tech, like the first semester. I failed an English class. And and my like the scholarship like advisor people, they were like, yeah, they were like, we just don't know if we can continue to like fund someone who like clearly shows blah 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 blah. So like they gave me the basically like the sort of warning thing. But I know I did end up losing that scholarship, and it's like looking back, it was like, dang, like I don't know, I kind of beat myself up over it for a very long time, because it's like, yo, like all you really had to do was like just focus like a little bit more, and like things would have been so much easier for you. And I think that's like kind of a big part of the tape as well. It's just like everything in hindsight and being like, man, my life could have went like a lot more smooth, a lot of things I kind of brought upon myself. And I'm the type of person where it's like I'll beat myself up about things. Like I don't really need other people to like sort of critique me, because I critique myself like really hard. You know what I mean? So like I don't know. I don't know if you can kind of like hear some of that also in the music, but it took me a very long time to sort of get over some of those like pitfalls and things like that I had kind of like, subjected myself to while I was at school. So that was definitely big for me. Graduation was big, just like period. Being able to like make it out and say that, you know what I mean? Like through everything, like I was still able to graduate and get a degree. That was huge for me, like just mentally and stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely start to hear that like bittersweet kind of stuff where, at the end you're just glad to have gotten through it, but there was a lot of learning experiences, whether it was, a lot of learning experiences, I guess you could say, outside of the classroom as well. But it kind of sounds like this project that gave you an opportunity to like look back on that time and say, okay, what would I maybe have done a little bit different, and I kind of like apply that going forward.
Nah, 100%, 100%.
Another thing that I did a little research on you, and I heard that you prefer quality over quantity when it comes to music, and you call yourself a modern day Homer. That as in the philosopher. So can you just tell me a little bit about your philosophy when it comes to music?
That's funny. Now the modern day homework thing actually came from my brother. He's a that's funny. He's a communications major, so like a lot of times with like if I need like a bio or something like with my press kit, like he'll help me out with that type of stuff. So
Mhm.
that definitely was probably like some of his rhetoric, but that's funny. For like the quality over quantity thing for sure. I guess so it's kind of like two part. The first thing is like when I listen to other people's music, a lot of times, especially nowadays, like projects are very inflated, and they're inflated because of like the way that streaming works and stuff like that. And it's like no one really like goes out and buys music anymore. Like you're hard pressed to find CDs and stuff like that. So I feel like because of that, whereas like historically like people have made albums that sort of like fit together and like everything has a purpose, you know, whether it's like the interludes, the intro, like everything kind of like, you know, even if it's not a story, there's a progression, right? Just like nowadays like people will just drop like 21 tracks and it's like, you know, you go through and find like pick your like 10 favorite tracks, put those in a playlist, and you really like never listen to the rest of the album again, right? So it's like with my projects, specifically because I put a lot of like effort and time and like thought into them, I want them to be appreciated as such. So I would rather give you the 10 or 8 tracks that you're going to listen to regardless. Like if I were to drop like a 21 track project, I want to give you the cream of the crop, but I only want to give you that. Like there's not going to be like any filler tracks or just stuff I don't think is gonna like resonate with people. That kind of like makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, I know how streaming's working. You see
Yeah,
the album track list; they just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like hour and a half or over an hour to listen to an album, and it's just too much time. And like I do the same exact thing, taking the songs and putting it into my playlist.
yeah, 100. Everybody just goes through. It's like, okay, track 2 was cool. Track 7, all right. Like, and people like basically arrange their own albums like out of like an inflated track list or whatever. So I don't know. I just kind of want my stuff to be a little bit more like organic and a little bit more reflective of like the quality of that projects used to be kind of like in the past. And that's not to say like everyone's like that. There's still artists that put out like incredibly dope projects. I've been listening to I don't know if you listen to Joey Perk, but I've been listening to Quarter Thing, the project that he's dropped. Oh my God, phenomenal! Like all the way through, phenomenal. So there's definitely artists still out there, and I kind of like seek to be one of those, and I try to listen to like music that is reflective of the music that I'm trying to make for sure. But yeah, and then also like I guess the second part was that like me myself, like at the current state that I'm in, kind of like career wise, like if you want to put it like that, I don't think I have the pull to make someone want to listen to like an hour's worth of my music. So like my kind of like philosophy before it was if I can give you like the small sort of like packages, but you really love it, you're gonna want more. You know what I mean? So then it's like as my fan base and stuff starts to grow, I can sort of look at making like a full like an LP or something like that, like 14 tracks. But for the time being, I would rather like really like capture the audience with like the small sort of projects and releases and stuff that I do put out to sort of like, make you want more and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like almost like supply and demand, where if there's too much
Yeah.
supply, like people don't want that demand, but once you give them just enough and you reach that sweet spot, they're gonna be wanting demanding more all the time. And hey, that's how you get a lot of records sold, right?
Or like look at Frank Ocean. Like he can not drop music for like 5 years and then like announce a project and the whole world like literally wants to listen. Like you know what I mean? Instead of like dropping a tape, like a 21 track tape, like every like 2 months. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I just saw that Blonde has been on the charts for like 2 years now or something crazy like that. Like, how does that even happen?
When the music is good, man, it lives on forever, and that's how I want my stuff to be. Like, you can go back 3 years from now and bump it gets deeper, and you're like, yo, this is still impactful. Like, I can still, relate to this. That's how I want my stuff to be for sure.
Well, definitely. So now, just moving forward, what are some of your plans, I guess, in the near future?
Um, I definitely gotta put some shows together. Whether I'm performing, in Atlanta or back in Florida. I really want to take a trip to New York pretty soon. to link up with some homies up there and just kind of like peep that scene and get introduced to some people and, you know, start networking up there. So I think what's next is like traveling, man, like getting out of the city. I just gotta like find the time to do it and set everything up and get it organized. But I definitely want to travel. I definitely want to do some shows in the city and out of the city. I think it would be good for me to go back home as well. I'm originally from Florida, so I think I want to go back home and do some stuff, whether it's like down south, go to Broward, Dade, stuff like that. Network with people out there, and then more music, man. More music, more videos. Ultimately, and keep pushing content.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So, your new EP, It Gets Deeper. Where can people check that out at?
Oh man, everywhere. Your favorite streaming service. But if you have Tidal, for sure check that out. Quick Tidal plug. They pay the most, like, per stream for artists. So yeah, if you don't have Tidal, get that free trial. Go stream It Gets Deeper, man. But it's everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, everywhere, man.
Well, definitely. I'll get that free Tidal subscription and hook you up.
Nah, do that. Put it on a loop, man.
That's what I'll tell you. Just keep it on a loop throughout my day, and I'll get you that check. So thank you so much for doing this.
All right. Nah, man. I thank you, man. I really appreciate it, for sure.
A big thank you again to AJ for coming onto the show. Remember, check out his EP, It Gets Deeper. Check out his social media stuff. I have all the links and everything in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this video on any platform you're on, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, or YouTube. So check that out in the description. Also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JacksonNeill20. I have those links as well. That way you can keep up to date as to when I publish this podcast, as well as the Jackson Neill Sports and Music Podcast, which feature interviews with sports and music writers. It's in the same feed as this one. So I'm going to be trying to doing more of these video interviews, so definitely check out that YouTube channel for myself at Jackson Neill. Has the Anything Goes with Jackson Neill and the Sports and Music Podcast in there as well. We're trying to do more of these video type interviews, whether it's Skype interviews or in-person ones, so I would definitely recommend if you guys could go over there and maybe get another level to these interviews and really, really enjoy the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you all next time.